time for losers. I get good grades in school, cause I'm a winner, baby. I'm a winner. I'm a winner. Yeah. I'm a winner. Yes, I'm a winner. I'm a winner. I'm a winner. Yes, I'm a winner. I'm a winner. I'm a winner. Yes, I'm a winner. I'm a winner. I'm a winner. Yes, I'm a winner. I'm a winner. I'm a winner. Yes, I'm a winner. 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 I'm a winner Started out working on DC, over uptown, northwest, first to Abraham. That's my stomping ground. That's where I put it down. Raised in the underground. There's no stopping us. We do it for a glorious. That's why we glorious. Bodacious, correlations, sexual motivation. For hands social butterfly. Now show them turn the shot. That's for me. I'm the grace tonight. Somebody tell everybody. I'm a winner. Everybody gotta tell somebody. I'm a winner. How you like that? Hi, I'm Harold Bell, and this is the Legends of Inside Sports and the Way We Were. On February 16, 2017, I will celebrate the birthday of my friend, my partner, and my brother, Muhammad Ali. The greatest was born on January 16, 1942, and he went home to be with the Lord much too soon on June 4, 2016. Since his passing, I have returned to my archives of videos, CDs, and DVDs, which consist of some of my all-time interviews and shows with a man who called himself the greatest, and he proved that he was. I am not sure whether those of you watching this video, whether you are aware, but I am a pioneer in sports talk radio, and every radio and television sports talk show format that you hear and see is a copy of my Inside Sports. I was the first ever host of a sports talk show aired in Washington, D.C. in 1970. The first black ever to host and produce a television sports special in prime time on NBC WRC TV4 in 1975. My special guest was Muhammad Ali. I was the first ever sports talk show host on WPFW Radio 89.3 on the FM dial in Washington, D.C. I'm going to share one of those WPFW shows with you as me and my guest, former NBC WRC TV4 weekend sports anchor Martin Wide. He was an Emmy Award-winning sportscaster in Seattle, Washington, where he produced a documentary looking at the life and times of NBA legend Bill Russell before he came to Washington. He was also the sports director and anchor for WKGO television in San Francisco. My other guests were the late D.C. boxing commissioner York Van Nixon and boxing historian Arnie Steinberg. On this show in 1990, we paid homage to the greatest while he could still smell the flowers and hear Inside Sports, the show that he helped put on the national media radar map. Ali not only talked the talk, he walked the walk. Remember, this show was aired 25 years before Ali went home to be with the Lord. We also talk about the first black heavyweight champion of the world, Jack Johnson. He was one of Ali's heroes. It would be a travesty if President Obama refuses to pardon the great Jack Johnson. I asked Muhammad Ali to explain the controversy that followed him his entire career. We also talk about the definition of friendship, success, and failure, our most precious commodity, our children, black family dysfunction, violence and crime, the difference between a boxer and a fighter, our black women and how important they are to our success, and his future after boxing. This is vintage Muhammad Ali that you will hear nowhere else. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed doing it. The next voice you hear will be that of Muhammad Ali.
Well, I'm just being myself, but a lot of people, a lot of things change. Time brings about a change. People forget. You know, Kennedy, Martin Luther King, are dead, Nat King Cole, or people like Donald Washington. I can go on and you didn't think about them. I just mentioned them. Planes crash with 150 people on it, lawyers and people from all walks of life, and next day it's old news. So these things happened then, and they believe they were right when they said them, and it's all over. We don't hold things against people. See, once you develop the heart quality, it becomes a forgiving quality. The life is as we look at it. If you wish to find faults, you can find faults in the best people in the world. If you wish to find good points, you can find good points in the worst people in the world. So once you get enough sympathy, enough love for mankind, enough understanding, then you overlook little faults, little errors, little mistakes. So whatever they said about me, it's all over, and I don't have time to really worry about it because when you criticize and condemn others, you're overlooking the same element in yourself.
How about that? That was Muhammad Ali. And of course, back there during those days when he took a stand against not going to the Vietnam War as a conscientious objector, and the changing of his name really stirred America. I mean, actually the whole world, really. But here in the United States, a lot of people became very offended by him, the heavyweight champion, turning to the Muslim faith, and of course, turning his back on the Vietnam War. That was an American way at that time. Arnie, how do you feel about that now looking back? Of course, he turned out to be right. There's no doubt about it. The Vietnam War became a very unpopular war. Looking at it, how do you feel about that and where he is today in history?
Well, as far as the changing of his name, I don't see what objection people can have. I mean, anybody can change their name. You remind me of Floyd Patterson, still calls him Cassius Clay today. And the reason is Floyd Patterson is very angry. He says because Floyd Patterson says Ali called me the rabbit. So I'll call him by his original name and so on. That's an example where he actually played games with other people's names, and they didn't like it. These were other fighters. But as far as his choice of his own name, I don't understand who could have an objection.
Yeah, speaking of that, I'm calling Floyd Patterson rabbit. I think he called Joe Frazier boy for a long time. Joe didn't like that, did he, y'all?
He called Joe Frazier the gorilla.
Gorilla, yeah, boy, gorilla, yeah.
George Foreman the dummy. Sonny Liston the big ugly bear.
Yeah, that was he had a way of psyching those guys out too. Peanut Head.
Who was that? Oh, that was Bernie Shavers, or was it?
No, that was
Larry Holmes, Peanut Head. Yeah. Y'all, his place.
People really don't give Ali the credit. That man was an astute, very clever individual. I recall sitting in the Hotel West End with Ali. I have a picture. I'll show you that picture sometime. Sitting on the couch with him, and he repeated poem after poem after poem.
Yeah.
It's amazing, that man's memory, you know, and never repeated the same one over.
What poems were these?
It's those that he
we're gonna get a chance to. If we're going to hear, we're gonna get a chance to hear some of that.
And I have something else. I have Ali's trunks that he initialed after he beat Spinks the third time. That is a momentum and a treasure that I will always keep.
Yeah.
But you know, Harold, you as a Washingtonian, I don't think you've been given your just due.
Oh yeah.
Well, and I'm reflecting the time that I classed you along with Don Dumfrey, Mo Siegel, Murray Goodman, Bert Sugar. You recall that?
Yeah,
oh yeah. Yeah, you haven't been given your just due either here in this town.
Well, y'all, you know, it was people like Muhammad Ali that took the time out to give a guy. I was a fledgling sportscaster at the time, just finding my way. And he took me sort of under his wing. And I can remember him saying, Harold, look, I'm going to be in New York on certain date. If you bring your film crew up, call up to the room, and we'll do the film. And it was just like that. I went to New York, and of course, I called him. He was in bed asleep. Got up, took a shower, kept Rodney and my crew up there, and we shot the film, man. See, that's why I find it kind of difficult with these so-called superheroes and stuff today. Muhammad Ali made the decision on what he was going to do and who he's going to do it for. And that's why, you know, when I think back at him and I think where we are today, and if we had more Muhammad Alis, we would be better off. Muhammad Ali was one of a kind. There's no doubt about that.
I want to bring you in on something. You know, I designed a pension plan for boxers way back in 1972. In the Thriller in Manila, I had an opportunity to get in the ring with Ali to project and push this pension plan off. Ali was the first one to join. After that, every champion in every division joined that pension plan with the understanding that the various commissioners would go back and implement it within their various commissions. The only person, country that did that was Panama. That same plan that I initiated is in operation right now in Panama. So I know the IBF is having their convention right now. You know about that in Las Vegas. And they're coming about with a pension plan, something that I designed years ago. So,
You know, I asked Ali what was the difference between success and failure, and also he had a love for all of his people, but young people is where his special love was taken. I want to go to part 2 of this interview and want you to hear his response to that.
I'm worried about straightening out me. I like that. There's a wine cellar, a storehouse where all sorts of wines are collected. Man only has to choose the wine that he wishes. From that wine, it will bring him a delight, which is the longing of the soul. He who is drunk with the wine of success knows no failure. If circumstances make him fail 9 times, the 10th time he will succeed. But he who has drunk the wine of failure may be given every chance to success, but he will not succeed, for he has drunk the wine of failure. And this shows you are what you become by the wine you drink. There's the intoxication of infancy. Imagine what care, what attention a little bitty baby demands at a time when the child still don't know who takes care of it. The child plays with his toys. The child plays with his playmates. The child knows not what's waiting for it in the future. None of us knew the value of our mothers and our fathers until we became old enough to see for ourselves. And when we observe the condition of youth today, we see the youth is another form of an intoxication. Youth is the time of blossoming. Youth is the fullness of energy. The soul in the springtime of youth never thinks that there will be a passing stage, for at that time the soul is full of intoxication. It's not the fault of the child, it's just the intoxication at that time of life. How many thoughtless, inconsiderate things, how many errors, how many things does a kid turn to break? Just as an intoxicated man is not responsible for what he does, neither is the child the blame for the blind in his energy. It's natural. This intoxication remains and it follows us all through life. Only there's a change of wine. The wine of childhood is different than wine of youth. The wine of youth is different than wine of infancy. And according to the walk of life which man follows, he absorbs the wine which governs his life. Either be the practice of the law, the possession of property, or the seeking the position of an athlete. All these objects only have an intoxicating effect on man.
Hey, look, and all of that was done with no paper, no notes, or nothing in front of him in that interview. If you saw it on TV, he just rattled off. This guy, like I said, was in a class by himself. Joining us, too, from San Francisco, is another outstanding athlete. He was all-conference at the University of Washington as a running back and went on to play pro football in the Canadian League for several years till he got a banged-up knee and had to give that up. But also, he went on to become an award-winning TV sportscaster. He won an Emmy out there in Seattle for the piece that he done on Bill Russell, the man. He is now at KGO TV in San Francisco. You can always catch him on BET doing profile on sports. He really has been doing a great job. I'd like to welcome to Inside Sports, a guy no stranger, my friend, Mr. Martin Wide. How you doing, Martin?
Thank you, Harold. It's always a pleasure to be on WTF.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure to be on your show, brother.
And Martin, we're sitting here, and I went back over tape 15 years ago, that interview you just got through listening to. I'm just going back to see how far ahead this man was of everybody else. He was such a prophet, and the things that he's talking about in this interview are things that we had taken heed to. We wouldn't have some of these problems that we're having in this country today. So I'm just taking my hat off to this guy because he was one of those guys, Martin, that knew what the thing about reach back was all about. Networking was all about. One of a kind.
Absolutely.
Martin, I know you think a heck of a lot of me yourself.
Well, I was listening, and who you got on the show with?
I got a York Van Nixon here.
he roasted me. Yeah, I remember that.
And Arnie Steinberg, who is a boxing historian, he's sitting in here on the show with me today.
And, I listened to him, and because I got in and we were talking about pushing the pension plan for boxers. I was there at the Thriller in Manila, and I remember Ali, here's the heavyweight champion of the world, talking about the little guy in the boxing ring. I mean, he never would have to worry about a pension plan.
That's right.
And I remember that because I was there in Manila fella, and to this day we don't have it. It's remarkable
Yeah, it's true.
that this has happened.
It's true.
But Ali was such a great guy because not just what he did, but he lifted up a whole generation
I'm telling you, man.
after him. I think he brought them to a whole new level of awareness and thought. Now a lot of them got away from it, but at least they start off now thinking differently. I mean, even you can look at Sugar Ray Leonard. His thoughts about money and about being his own man in the ring has to be the seed of that came from Ali.
Mm-hmm.
Ali was the first boxer that, you know, said, hey, I'm going to take charge of my life, my finances, who I am, and who controls who I fight.
Mm-hmm.
He did that.
Yeah.
And, of course, Sugar Ray Leonard is carried out to the max to make more money than anybody.
Yeah.
But Ali's the one who set the pattern for that.
Yeah. The thing about we're talking about athletes who have taken a stand, and someone once said, men who don't stand for something will fall for anything. And I think about these athletes who have stood for something, guys like Jack Johnson, Paul Robeson, of course, a scholar, Jackie Robinson, the baseball player, John Carlos and Tommy Smith in track and field, then baseball, Kurt Flood, which Martin, you did an outstanding piece on, John Mackey in football, Jim Brown in football, and then in boxing, Muhammad Ali. These guys, they open up so many doors, man, for so many athletes. That's why today, like I keep telling Martin, that's why I can't cater to these guys. When you walk with a king like Muhammad Ali, these guys are second class.
Yeah, well, the guys that you mentioned, the men that you mentioned, literally transcend sport and touch everybody on the planet because of what they did. I mean, no matter how you cut it, a Jack Johnson and a Paul Robeson affected the fabric of American life and therefore the fabric of the world. And yeah, it's great for a guy to go out and make a lot of money. And some people are able to take small aspects of what they stood for. For instance, Sugar Ray Leonard took the financial aspect of what Ali stood for and made a lot of money. But he hasn't transcended the sport a la an Ali. And the guys that you're talking about are giants. They come along once in a lifetime. And because we're talking about several lifetimes of spans of people. I mean, we had a Jim Brown and an Ali at the same time. That is unusual to have two guys like that, I think, in our lifetime.
Right.
We're very fortunate.
Arnie?
Thinking back to Jack Johnson in his time, he had an awful lot of trouble because he was more of a pioneer. And it's too bad what happened with him, you know, a lot of the difficulties that he had. In the case of Jack Johnson, he made some of his own difficulties during the time. But he lived till he was killed in a car crash when he was 68 years old. He used to visit Nat Fleischer at the Ring magazine and had wonderful comments about boxing. To hear his evaluations of the later boxers from a technical point of view was wonderful. He evaluated Joe Louis, and he said Louis should not have been a counterpuncher the way he was taught by Jack Blackburn, his trainer. He said Louis should have been a complete aggressive, offensive fighter. And when he saw Louis in the second fight with Schmeling, he said that was the ideal Louis. That's what he always should have done.
Excellent.
You know, York, also that Muhammad Ali took a whole lot of his traits from Jack Johnson, too. I think he admired Jack Johnson in the stand that Jack Johnson took in the early years. Jack Johnson paved the way for him and so many other fighters.
Yeah, I'll tell you a little story about Ali. I was having breakfast one with Ali and Walcott. Ali walked up and then he said to Joe, he said, did you know Jack Johnson? To Walcott. And of course, Walcott came along just about in that time, too. He said, sure, I know the guy. He said, what kind of guy was it? He said, he liked you, you were all right. But if you weren't, you could forget it. It was funny. He said that he had made $7.58 for his first professional fight. Can you imagine? Now today is millions.
What we'll do here, we're going to listen to another segment. I talked to Ali about judgment of others. He said, first, before you can judge someone else, you should take a look in the mirror. And he explained the true meaning of friendship. I said, Ali, what is a real friend? And I want y'all to listen to part 3, what he said then. 15 years ago.
Some people don't seem to deserve the wealth, the rank that they have in life. and others perhaps in our eyes deserve more, but yet in the eyes of God it's different. It is because they deserve it, though you don't see why how. Like a friend said to a fellow I know named Billy, said, Billy, why are you so devoted to Mary? She's not beautiful, she's not attractive. Billy said, to see Mary, you must borrow my eyes. And I was saying, when we judge people, do we see with the eyes of God? Do we see what feelings God has towards them? And when we cannot see in this way, we have no right to question why others are in this or that position. Same way as in friendship. I mean, friendship is an automatic action. Friendship is an innocent, unconscious, outgoing, a pure, deep feeling with depth. So therefore, no one can explain why one person is a friend of another.
Yeah, you know, they say that friendship is like our shadows. They're sticking with you as long as you're in the sun, but once you cross over into the shade, the shadow disappears. How do you distinguish your friends?
Well, I wrote something once that says, friendship is a priceless gift that cannot be bought nor sold, but its value is far greater than a mountain made of gold. For gold is cold and lifeless, it can neither see nor hear. In time of trouble, it's powerless to cheer. It has no ears to listen, no heart to understand. It cannot bring you comfort or reach out a helping hand. So when you ask God for a gift, be thankful if he sends, not diamonds, pearls, or riches, but the love of real true friends. And this is how I feel about friendship. There are very few friends. A friend is one who is always wanting to give. See, nothing in return. Always a thought of giving, and he wants nothing in return. A real friend holds his life cheap if it's for his friend. Anyone who considers anything more important than friendship has not yet learned the first lesson to friendship. Once we learn to regard the feelings and displeasures of our friends without looking for anything in return, then it is those who truly learn the meaning of friendship. Looking for nothing in return, always a thought of giving and keep back nothing. And very few people do that. Most people, if they tip you $1 for a cup of coffee, they look for, I thank you. And if your coffee costs 16 cents, you tip lady $1, she don't say thank you. You ain't got a rude so-and-so. You didn't really give because you look for something in return. Here's a lady holding a bag full of groceries. You hold the door for her. She walk right through, keep walking. Most Christians didn't say thanks. You didn't really hold the door. See, very few people really give and don't look for nothing in return.
Yeah, that was 15 years ago, man. And I'm saying, I learned so much from this man. And there was another quote from him. He said, I'm not afraid of tomorrow, for I've seen yesterday, and I love today. This man, like I said, if you were a friend of his, he would get, not only did he look out for guys like myself, but there were hundreds of other Harold Bells around this country. So I don't want you to think that I was so special, but he did this with so many people that he came in contact. Anybody with a sad story, if he had $1 in his pocket, that other individual had 50 cents of it. I mean, this is how he was, man. And we don't have those type of people today, man. This would definitely be a better world if just a lot of people would just stop and listen to Muhammad Ali.
Well, you know, Harold, this is Martin White in San Francisco. Ali came along at a time, and in the early 60s, and he helped a lot of us get into business because
that's right.
At that particular time, white media was afraid to approach Ali. And they said, hey, maybe we better get some black sports artists or casters. And it's not that Ali wasn't accessible, but it was in their head. And Ali would always, I know, when I went to Manila, the first time I saw him, he went out of his way to help this young, fledgling sportscaster get an interview. He said, I know you had a tough way to go. I'm going to at least be accessible to you. And, I look at it today in the 80s and now the 90s. Man, you walk up to a black athlete today.
I'm telling you, man.
And of course times have changed. They don't owe me anything, but at least I want the same respect that they give everybody else.
Yeah.
The historian said something about Jack Johnson. Is that Arnie you have on this?
Yeah,
Arnie.
Yeah.
I beg to differ with one thing that you said because in reading about Jack Johnson.
What is that?
What I differ with, you said that he brought a lot of things on himself.
No.
Now that may be, if you take it in isolation, that could be pointed out. But in looking at the totality of the time that he came up, what he was doing, here is one lone black man stepping into the ring. I mean, here's a time when if a black man walked down some southern towns with a white shirt on, they might lynch him. Here's this man stepping into the ring, knocking and beating up this white opponent. Everybody else around him was white, yelling and screaming from his blood. I mean, the pressures that this guy was under is absolutely phenomenal. That's why Ali admired him so much. He said, man, what I'm doing is nothing. Jack Johnson was the baddest of all time. I've heard Ali say that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what he did. So to me, to say that he did some things that called him on himself, we don't have any idea the pressure that he was under.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody makes mistakes. But if they had treated him like a man, like the champion that he deserved, I don't think that those things would have been what I would say has caused some of his own problems. That's my opinion.
Martin, hold that point right. That's a good point, and it's something that I like to follow up on too with the rest of the panel around here. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back. All right, welcome back to Inside and Outside of Sports. This is the Wednesday edition, and we're talking about the greatest heavyweight champion of all time, and the greatest boxer of all time, the greatest human being of all time. I'm sitting here with the former DC boxing commissioner, York Van Nixon, who is now an executive member of the WBA, and also with Arnie Steinberg. Arnie is a boxing historian. And from out in San Francisco, I got my man, Mr. Martin White, a sportscaster at KGO-TV. Right now, what we're going to do, we're going to take a call, and then we're going to come back to my special guest. Inside and Outside of Sports, you're on the air. Hello?
Yes, sir.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I want to thank you for the program, and thank you for the gentleman you have on here, especially for hearing the things about Muhammad Ali. I was young when he was coming up, but I remember him very well. He symbolized a lot of things spiritually, culturally, and a lot of other things for people. And I like what the guest in San Francisco said about learn to just kind of like let people be. He was able to pick out the aspects of Sugar Ray Leonard and all the other people. And that seems to do what Muhammad Ali did. And I want to say about your program, I really enjoy your program because you bring a lot of insight to us about the sports and the people in sports and some of the other things. But sometimes, you know, myself and some of my friends, we talk about it. Sometimes all the good that you do in your voice is kind of clouded by what we perceive as being some of your anger and some resentment at some of the people you talk about. And I was just wondering, maybe could you clear up if there's some personal things that go on that has caused you to say some of the things you said about them that's personal, or what? Or there's some insights that maybe we don't see, but we feel that it's kind of personal. We feel that it's like almost like a character assassination, even though it might warrant it in some ways. We feel that it's a character assassination. And when you express those things and repping all the good that you've done, it's clouded by those type of remarks and those things. And so Muhammad Ali said it best. And like I said, he was a teacher, so I hope that you can benefit from that too, is that you need to bring out the best, and we can't say anything good. You can find a way to give some constructive criticism without clouding things, because you're too good of a person. You bring out too much of the goodness.
Okay.
And
Well, I'm gonna let my guest handle it. Thank you very, very much. You know, I think you hit it on the head. I got insight that don't many of you have out there. And when I talk about the Sugar Ray Leonards and the John Todd, I talk about them from experience. You and the listening audience can't talk about them from experience. You have to depend on what the media tells you about them. So it's not Martin and of course York Van Nixon and Arnie Stein, who have known me for many years. I'm a success in my own right. You understand? So I'm not jealous or petty of any of these individuals, because you got athletes like Willie Mays, Reggie Jackson, Bo Jackson, Kirby Puckett, Ricky Henderson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. You tell me the kinds of stands that have these guys ever taken a stand on anything? Has Sugar Ray Leonard ever taken a stand on anything? Has Michael Jordan ever taken a stand on anything that will help black folks, help us grow as a people? See, you get caught up in the personality thing. I get caught up in telling the truth only. I get calls from all over the country, people calling me, asking me about this or that. So I must be doing something right. And like I said, I've been in the business 16 years now, and I feel very good about myself. Martin?
Well, I understand what the caller said,
Yeah.
and this is my opinion. I think we all have our rights to our opinion about each other, and we should be able to express them. And you have a right to your feelings, and of course, your personal dealings with any of the athletes or so-called athletes or people, to express them on your show. I mean, this is done all the time in the white media. I mean, columnists, and they get out and they sabotage, or whatever you want to call it. It's their opinion about each other, and you have a right to that. What I'd like to say is that I understand what I think the caller and there's three things that you can expect. Not everybody's going to have the strength, the fortitude to stand up, to take a stand. And, and you can't blame a lot of people for that. I don't blame an athlete for making a lot of money and going on about his business. What I do have a problem with, if a man sees an injustice, I think he should go help. But everybody's not that strong. But if he just doesn't get in the way and support the person who's making the injustice, then I won't blame him. But when you see people who are helping, who sees an injustice, and then they don't do anything to stop it, but they support the people who are making the injustice, I have a problem with that.
Well, a lot of people want to keep their job and their salary.
Yeah. I can understand that. Yeah. And, that's what I said. I don't blame a man for making some money. But I do blame him if he goes out there and sides with the oppressor. You can just be quiet and make your money. Don't say anything. I won't blame you there. But if a man goes and sides with the oppressor, I got a problem.
We all quit.
Plus, Harold, keep standing up for what you believe. And I get back to the poem you just read about that Ali, that says, I am not afraid of tomorrow, for I had seen yesterday and I love today. You keep on loving today, Harold, and stand up for what you believe, regardless.
I look back and I see what's happening around me. I just figure out how many black athletes that grew up in the inner city that you can count on any sports franchises that live in the city today. They get away from the community. I know John Sally just brought a 62-room house in Detroit. That's reaching back and staying in touch with the people. These guys forget who they are and where they came from. And so
everybody does not, as Arnie pointed out, have that kind of courage to take a stand. And I don't think we can blame a guy for making a living and making his family comfortable.
Yeah.
I think the issue is, does he side with those who oppress us? Yeah. That's the issue, and that's when you have to point a finger. And then we have a right to our opinions. I mean, you stand up and you have a right to express your feelings about anybody you deal with. That's why you got a show. That's why your show is interesting. That's why everybody listens. And that brother had a right to say, hey, I don't like this aspect of your show.
Yeah. Well, I'm always saying, there's nothing wrong with criticism, as long as you can distinguish between constructive criticism and destructive criticism. I'm saying don't believe everything that you hear me say. Just take a look and see what's happening around you, and you decide for yourself. Don't believe everything that I say, just like you can't believe everything in the Washington Times, Washington Post, or on TV4. You decide what you want to believe, and then you take and run with it. Don't believe it. That's what you got to do.
You remember Julius Hobson?
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to call you Julius Hobson Jr. III, because he spoke what he believed. He did research. When he made the statement, he had researched it and he had the facts.
Yeah.
You have the facts.
You got to do your homework. All right. We're going to take a call. Inside and outside of sports, you're on the air. Hello.
Is that me?
Yes, you.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm fine. How you doing?
Okay. Good evening, all you guests. Let me say I wholeheartedly concur with Martin, with the comments he just made. But I really called to talk about Ali because, I was a young kid back when Ali was in his heyday back in the 60s and everything. And I think as I got older, I appreciated him more because he became like a hero to me, because not so much for what he did in the ring, but outside in terms of bucking the system. And, for a young black man, living in this society, that was important to have somebody that you could look up to, whether it be a sports hero or what have you. But that's what Ali represented to me, and it's kind of ironic now, looking at him now and remembering him in the past, and it's just kind of sad that it almost looks like he's deteriorating, but it doesn't do anything to diminish his accomplishments and the great things that he did for black people. And I think that's the legacy of Ali, is what he did to help people and what he represented. Because, he took a lot of controversial stands. He became a Muslim when that wasn't popular to do. And he didn't go into service and those type of things. So he's an important figure for our black youth today.
Thank you for recognizing that factor. Thank you very much for your call. I'd like to take this time to thank two young men that was played at my birthday party, Gary Beck and Dave Kittle. I want to thank you two guys for coming out and being a part of that. And I have not forgotten you, Gary, so, you're still in my thoughts. what we're going to do now, too, we're going to take a little musical break, and the number to call, of course, is 783-3104, and I'm talking to Martin Wyatt at KGO-TV in San Francisco, Mr. York Van Nixon, former D.C. boxing commissioner, and boxing historian Arnie Steinberg. We'll be right back right after this music break.
It must have been you there in my shed, drawing me closer unto that way. You have always been there with love divine, waiting for my light to shine. I was the one seeking for the glory, while you were there. All of the glory was in your name. There's not been one you couldn't do.
Okay, welcome back to Inside Sports. I'm your host, Harold Bell. This is Inside and Outside of Sports. We're here at 89.3 on your FM dial, WPFW, jazz, and much, much more. We're talking about one of the greatest boxers and human beings of all time, Muhammad Ali, and I have in the studio with me, Mr. York Van Nixon, Arnie Steinberg, and out in San Francisco, I got my man, Mr. Martin Wyatt. We're going to take a call before we go to the next excerpt from Muhammad Ali. Inside Sports, you're on the air. Hello.
Yes, Mr. Bell.
How you doing?
Fine, sir.
Good.
Yes, sir. Mr. Ali, Muhammad Ali, he was more of a hero to me, more so outside the ring than he was inside the ring.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying, sir?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and one of your guests made a statement that the reason why some of the athletes appears to make a selfish decision as far as helping the exploiter, help them to exploit the rest of the athletes and actually get in the way because of money, because they want to keep their job. But some money is too expensive, brother.
That's right. That's right.
Some money is just too expensive.
That's right, big brother.
And I listened to a program about 3 months ago, and it doesn't have anything to do with sports, but this black fisherman, the fisherman, when he goes to catch his fish, he come back and sells it to, put it on the market. And he approached the Korean guy who was in, sold fish, and he explained to him, said, look, I'll give you, sell this fish to you for 24 cents cheaper a pound. But he said that the Korean guy said, well, his own brother sell him his fish, but he will continue to get it from his own brother, even though this guy will give him 24 cents a pound cheaper.
Isn't that something?
See, like I said, some money gets too expensive.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Thank you for being there, brother.
Yeah.
Something good work.
Thank you, baby.
Right.
All right. We're going to listen to another excerpt. And I asked Muhammad Ali, too, in this excerpt. I asked him, what was the difference between a boxer and a fighter? And this was Muhammad Ali's response.
Well, boxing is an art. It's like you said, it's hit, not be hit, rhythm and timing, footwork, a left jab, right cross, nice slipper punch from 2 inches, then tagging. He might throw a left jab, and you might pull back just enough to get away. He might stop from a half inch and hit you in the back over with the right hand. It's all time in rhythm. Everything's in motion. So, but fighting is more like a Joe Frazier. Just put your head down and come in, take punches just to hit, nose hanging off, ears twisted, eyes crossed, just don't care. But boxers one, like Sugar Ray Robinson was in his day, of Joe Louis, myself, people how I dance and jump around. Even I'm on the ropes, I'm not getting hit, I'm blocking. That's called a rope-a-dope, the new style, the Mirage. It's a science. So that's how they differ. George Foreman is a slugger too. That's how he lost the fight, if you remember. He just put his head and just kept swinging and didn't realize where he was hitting. He just wanted to hit. Bull loses his head. A fighter is one who loses his head, he can't think. But a man who's smart, taking his time, jab, jab. I miss a right hand, he'd hit me. And then when I get him in the ropes, he wouldn't lose his head to slug it out. He'd just back off and tell me to come on out to the center of the ring. That's the boxer. The Smith one was just like a girl, just get mad. She told a lie on you, darling. She did. I can't stand and start pulling her hair. Just get mad.
And you guys, I wish you could have seen him in the TV show as he was describing. He was crossing his eyes and pulling his ears. This man was just a joy to be around. And like I said, when you start talking about boxers, when Sugar Ray Robinson and Muhammad Ali were definitely in a class by themselves.
Dick Sadler, as you well know, worked with Ali when preparing him for the Frazier fight to actually properly throw a left jab. And if you watch Ali's fights, if you follow them, rarely did he actually put all of his weight or his body into his punches, particularly the left jab. It wasn't until the 14th round, remind you what Sadler said, that Ali actually perfected what they've been working on for months. When he popped Joe Frazier in the 14th round and his mouthpiece flew out, that was it. That really stopped the fight. But he said that's the only time. You watch his fights.
I'd like to ask Arnie, wasn't it Nat Flasher that for years never really wanted to acknowledge Black Ali, that Ali was the greatest? Was it Nat or was it Cus D'Amato?
It was Nat Flasher.
Was it?
Yeah, it was Nat Flasher. Yeah, I never wanted to recognize Ali as one of the greatest heavyweights of all time.
Do you think, did he ever come to, Arnie, did he ever come to any kind of...
One way to check would be to look in the ring record book, the rating of the top 10 heavyweights, and I think he did rate him in there.
He did came around finally at the end. He rated him in the top 10, I know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I
know Cus D'Amato also never really, maybe because he has...
Well, I wouldn't worry too much about Cus D'Amato. I say I wouldn't worry too much about Cus D'Amato. He's a big figure to the New York media, but I don't consider him a major figure in boxing, really.
Mm-hmm.
I don't either, not really.
We're here talking about athletes who have taken a stand, and of course we're talking about one guy who took a stand way before his time, Muhammad Ali. Took a stand on the Nation of Islam, Vietnam. Also, he was the one that put Don King in the spotlight as the first really big-time boxing promoter. And I was there in Cleveland when all that took place. So Ali always took time out to put brothers in position, to pull people along. You see, when people call up here talking about, I seem to be angry about something that I get emotional about. Hey, man, I'm looking at these brothers, and they act like they done had money all their lives. These guys have come to me for help. You understand?
Who was the sports writer that Ali really made now?
Who's the one he really made?
Really made.
Oh, at the sports capital,
Howard
Cosell.
Oh, okay.
Howard Cosell claimed he made Muhammad Ali. You understand? Ali made him. But
Howard in standing up, Howard was the only
one that stood up for him.
That
right.
stood up, and Howard was a lawyer, so he knew that Ali was going to win that case.
Mm-hmm.
And so he stood up, but that doesn't take anything away from Howard standing up and saying, hey, this guy's right, and he should have the right to fight. And but
that took a lot of courage, even then.
Absolutely.
It did.
Absolutely. I give Howard credit for that.
Yeah.
But you know what I was getting at when I was talking about these different guys, D'Amato and Nat Flasher, that what the public gets a lot of the times is colored with their own particular prejudice.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, it always is.
Mm-hmm.
So people have to take all their opinions, your opinion, Dick Young's opinion, and quote, the great writer who has some big biases in New York, the guy's opinion out there, and then they have to come to their own decision and try to sift through and get the truth. Right. You've got a right to your opinion. And Sugar Ray Leonard's going to have to accept some criticism.
That's right.
You can't be soft-skinned and be in the public. Hey, everybody's not going to agree that what you're doing is correct. And be the bigger man and say, thank you for your opinion.
That's right.
And then I'm going to move on that if it's correct.
Instead of taking it personal, they take it personal. I have a good guy that I wore out. I'm talking about Charlie Brockman. I call him a racist and everything else. You understand? Because I didn't like his attitudes in dealing with black folks. But Charlie Brockman was man enough to say, hey, Harold, I want you to be a member of the Touchdown Club. You understand? It's a business, man. And these guys got these other athletes, they take it personal. They shouldn't be taking it personal. Take the advice and do what you want with it and say, okay, well, let me take a look at myself. Maybe there is something wrong. We're going to take a call. Of course, this is Inside and Outside of Sports, and we at WPFW. We're running out of time. You're on the air. Hello.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it would be most fitting for us not to talk about Ali sometimes in the past, because many of the things that he's done, they're right now happening in the present.
There's no doubt about it. That's exactly why I'm playing these excerpts from his 15 years ago from that film, because he was a prophet.
Exactly.
He's a prophet, man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'll get off the.
Okay, I want you to hear this next. This is the last excerpt, and I'm going to show you what I'm saying. He was way ahead of his time. I asked Ali too. I asked him about violence and drugs and the Black Muslim movement. This was 15 years ago. Listen to what he had to say.
My personal goals and objectives is to raise our family and to leave an image here that other people can follow, and to help the Honorable Wallace D. Muhammad unite our people, bring them together, clean them up spiritually, morally, mentally, and get us on track where we can help ourselves, govern ourselves, and quit always laying around the Madison Gate begging for bread, food, clothing, shelter, and get out and do for ourselves as others who are less in population, 40 million black people, are doing for themselves. And that's my main goals, is mainly to be a minister of the things that I'm talking about, and to help go out and convert and clean up others to do the same. We got prostitution, we got gang fight, we got dope, and then basically, we should be hired by the White House, because we actually have taken problems off of the whites, which they have to solve themselves, and they have to worry about the drug addict. They have to put them in jail. They have to close and then find jobs. So we actually should be taken care of by the government to influence us to go out and get more people to do what we're doing, because we have to stop crime and everything, and taking weapons away from our people, stop them from their violence. So really, it looks like the government would call our leader, Wallace D. Muhammad, to the White House, and do everything they can to help him to get back on these streets and help clean our people up, because it takes us to help ourselves. No other race can come to black man America and straighten them out. They won't listen to them. It takes us to know each other, and all this one's got the program is the Muslims, so that's why I would dedicate the rest of my life to this cause.
All right, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying right there that this man, like I said, way ahead of his time, and it's just amazing, man. I think, and the reason that I'm doing this show, because Angelo Dundee made me think last week when we was talking. Are we on? Am I here? I can't even hear myself. I was thinking last week. Angelo Dundee said we got to start letting people smell the flowers while they're still here. We can't wait until they pass away and start laying praise on them. That's why I'm taking this time out today to honor Muhammad Ali, and because he's a great, great human being, and we can learn a whole lot from him. So
Harold, you should send them a copy of the show. I know he would be very, very a warm feeling.
Yeah.
Because Ali's sharp mentally.
No, he's still sharp mentally. There's no doubt about that. We're going to get down to the 6-minute mark here. We'll take another call, and then we're going to let my guests take it on from there. Inside Sports, you're on the air. Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, Harold.
Mm-hmm.
I was calling about when you were mentioning the athletes of the past and the athletes of today.
Mm-hmm.
I think today there aren't any strong leaders politically to motivate or taking really strong stances like during the era of Muhammad Ali. And maybe the athletes of the day are kind of reflecting many of the leaders who are in politics, who have actually joined the system.
Mm-hmm.
That's what
You're
I
right.
wanted to say.
That's a good point. Thanks for your call.
Okay.
One other thing I want to say too, is that I stopped and think my junior high school principal said I wouldn't live to get to high school. So and I am really in overtime here. So the success that I've had over the years, I've come much further than I ever thought I would come. I mean, for some of the things that I came up under. So, and for me to be jealous and envious of somebody else is ridiculous to me. It's just that I done had, like I said, personal contact with some of these guys that they would never have contact with. And we've got to stop and say, like Martin said, listen and take a little bit from everybody. And I think that's the whole key to the whole thing. Martin, before we get out of here, I'm going to give you another minute or so to wrap this thing up.
Well, I'm just honored. I don't want to wrap it up.
Yeah.
I'm honored to be on the show, and really pleasure talking with Arnie and with York Van Nixon. I respect both of them, and I'm really happy to honor Muhammad Ali, who had such an impact on my life, personally, spiritually, and of course, he had an impact on all of America because, you know, it was him who basically, I think, brought the focus on the Vietnam War movement. He helped us all recognize what was happening there. He changed America.
Yeah. Since the Russian boxers have invaded California, what are you thinking about that now?
Gorbachev is coming here next, man. He's treated better than I am.
I just want to say is that one thing, Martin, I can say, and I guess in the years that you've known me, is one thing we can say about each other is consistency. And I think that's one of my biggest assets. I have been consistent. Anybody that has grown up with me as an athlete, as a community person, as a radio TV personality, the one thing they have to say that people that know me, I've been consistent. I think that's the most important asset that a man can have. I don't change along the way. Success does not change me because I know this success can be taken away from me at any time, in any place. So I have to deal with it and try to keep some balance in my life. And that's why it's good to have people like York Van Nixon around me, or guys like Martin White, or people that I trust who is telling me, say, Harold, you're off base, let's go in another direction. So that's what I'm saying. It's good to have a show like this and to have guys like you who participate, who are not cheerleaders. It's okay to cheer for something that's positive. Don't cheer just to be cheering because a guy can catch a football, because a guy can shoot a basketball, or a guy can knock somebody out. You got to look at the complete man. I cannot separate the athlete from the man, and none of us should. Arnie, we got about 1 minute.
You're reminding me, I'm sorry, we only have 1 minute. When I went up to Brooklyn, New York to see Eubie Blake for my biography of Joe Gans, he wanted to talk more about Jack Johnson than about Joe Gans. And we only had a certain amount of time. I had to keep bringing him back to Joe Gans, who was a great lightweight champion from Baltimore, who I was writing about. He was tremendously impressed with Jack Johnson. He said, you know that Jack Johnson could speak French as well as a Frenchman?
Yeah. He was a heavy brother, man. There's no doubt about it. Jack Johnson had a whole lot on the ball and never got his just due because of the white media, you know?
Nat Fleischer rated him as the #1 heavyweight champion.
Is that right?
Well, Nat was right once.
give a little credit for being right once. That's one thing we gotta look at too. We got to have Black History 365 days of the year. We cannot just have Black History Month in February and let it die. We got to continue to have programs like this and make people aware of the great accomplishments of Black people. I mean, we have such a rich history, Martin, in Europe.
It enriches the whole country because what's happening is that not just Black people, but everybody
gains from
out on some of the richness of this whole great country.
Well, as always, you know, it's always a blessing to have. I can come up with so many. Sometimes I come up with shows off the top of my head. Sometimes I don't know what I'm gonna do to the day of. But I got so many great resources like the Martin White, like the Al Adams, guys all over this country. I can just pick up a telephone and call and say, hey man, let's do this show today. And I am very thankful and I'm very appreciative of the many contacts that I've made in this business over the years. I have grown from the experience, and I hope my listening audience is growing from the experience too, because hey, we know we all can learn something from each other. Y'all think I do a whole lot of talking, but I do a whole lot of listening too. Well, that's going to be it for the Inside Sports and Outside of Sports for this edition. And remember, as I always say, that every Black brother you see, every Black face you see is not your brother, and every white face is not your enemy. Until next Wednesday at the same time, I'm Harold Bell, and you can color me gone.
For the best in sports and sporting personalities, be sure to check out Inside and Outside Sports with Harold Bell every Wednesday at 6 p.m. right here on WPFW 89.3 on your FM dial.
Okay, welcome back to the Legends of Inside Sports and the Way We Were. That was a show paying our respects to the greatest, Muhammad Ali. 1990. You know, if you notice anything about the Inside Sports format, and especially with the telephone calls and stuff, I never asked who was calling. I never asked what you wanted to talk about because it didn't make any difference. See, what made me different from today's sports talk show hosts and these sports columnists, I was a community legend before I ever took to the airwaves. I didn't become an expert on the black community once I became a newspaper columnist or a talk show host on radio or television. I came to radio knowing the community. You check the track records of any of these guys or ladies that are reporting on doing any reporting in sports. Check the track records. See where they came from. They have no record of doing anything in the community before they became a columnist or a talk show host. They became experts after they became a columnist or talk show host. So that's what made me so different, and the things that I brought to Inside Sports. You know, I mean, did you listen to some of the callers that called in? One guy thought that I was an angry black brother because I called out brothers who came through me when they had nothing. And once they became a success, got $2 more than the next brother, they thought they knew everything. But they came to you or came to me when they needed help. So that was the difference of the Inside Sports talk show format and why it was so popular. Because I didn't pretend that I knew everything. If I didn't know, I don't care what you came up with. If I didn't know, I was going to say, oh, let me check with another caller. Let me check with one of my guests. Maybe they know. I don't know. But these guys today, they're experts on everything. You know, I was thinking about what was said about Jack Johnson. This was 25 years ago. You heard how much respect that Muhammad Ali had for Jack Johnson, Hubie Blake. They know the contributions that this guy made. Arnie Steinberg, one of my guests, he was a little off base. He said Jack Johnson brought some of these things on himself. Not in the 1900s, 1908 when he was the champion. Can you imagine being the only black brother among thousands and thousands of white sports fans, and you're a black heavyweight champion? Can you imagine that? Man, we can't never imagine what Jack Johnson had to go through. They even put him in jail for a year. The Mann Act, for taking a white woman across state lines. They made up laws to get him. And it would be a travesty if Barack Obama, our president, our black president, doesn't pardon this man. Does not pardon this man. So when you think about Muhammad Ali and his greatness, and you heard Martin and talk about Howard Cosell. Howard Cosell, you got to give him credit. He stuck with Muhammad Ali when nobody else would. Howard Cosell was a smart guy, but Muhammad Ali used him. Howard Cosell thought he was using Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali was using him because he had a national stage. But when he came home to give his first interview in 1974, after that historical fight against Big George Foreman, where he knocked him out in the 8th round to stun the world, when he got back to New York, he didn't call Howard Cosell. He didn't call Ed Bradley of 60 Minutes. He didn't call Brian Gumbel of HBO. He called Harold Bell for the first interview. So when you talk about the greatness of a man and how he reached back and tried to help everybody, even Martin Wise said, when he was in Manila for the fight with the Joe Frazier fight, Muhammad Ali pulled him in. So I wasn't the only one he pulled in, but he pulls me in more times than he did others. So that's why I am forever grateful to the greatest, Muhammad Ali. Well, that's going to be it for the Inside Sports Report. And remember that every black face you see is not your brother. And you can't just talk the talk in 2017. You got to walk the walk. Have a great one. Happy New Year. And happy birthday, Muhammad Ali.